In today's Locked On Pelicans, I'll tell you the two specific plays that Zion made in his triple-double against the Clippers that says things are finally different. It's the Wednesday episode of Locked On Pelicans. Let's go.
You are Locked On Pelicans, your daily New Orleans Pelicans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another edition of Locked On Pelicans, the daily podcast covering your favorite team, the New Orleans Pelicans at NBA, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, available wherever you get your podcasts and available on YouTube. I'm your host, Pelicans Insider, credential member of the media, Jake Madison, at NOLA Jake on Twitter. Here with y'all on this Wednesday, day after the Pelicans beat the Los Angeles Clippers, 127-120. I don't care about tanking, and frankly, after this kind of performance, I'm cool with the win. And I'll explain why in today's show, and it has to do with Zion Williamson in two plays in particular that really jumped out at me, and they're probably not the plays that you're thinking of. So I want to look at Zion Williamson and how well he played a triple-double, his second career one, in this win. I want to tell you why I got to redo my Thursday show after this game. I have the week planned out usually. Had a great Thursday show that I was like, oh, this will be provoking. People are going to, no, we got to redo it. And I'll tell you why in the second segment here. Then I want to look at the big man rotation against the Clippers in the third segment. Carlo Makovic, Mo Bamba played in this one. We're going to break it all down in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. And of course, thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We're here Monday through Friday, the number one Pelicans podcast covering everything you want to know about this Pelicans team. So please subscribe wherever you get your podcast and join over 11,000 Pelicans fans on YouTube as well. We are the number one Pelicans podcast for a reason. And become an everydayer. That means you listen Monday through Friday to Locked On Pelicans. So let's get into this one because honestly, this was a fun game. 127-120 over the Los Angeles Clippers. We want the team to lose. Look, frankly, we want the team to lose. Right now, it's about securing a top 4 slot going into the NBA draft lottery. Any sort of win could hurt you in that regard. And then you get a game like this against a pretty good Clippers team. And with Zion Williamson playing as well as he does, that you know what, when you're in the arena, you're in there in the moment, you go, I'm actually very cool with them winning this game and screw it, the draft, screw the lottery. Sometimes you just need to enjoy the moment and look at the players that are playing and break down what you see. And we're going to do that around Zion Williamson here, who was absolutely phenomenal in this game. My notes on the show right over here, literally segment 1 just goes, holy bleep Zion. That's the notes that I wrote. That's it. That's the segment here. Zion Williamson with a triple-double of 22 points on 13 shot attempts, 8 of 13, 10 rebounds, 12 assists, a block. He was 6 of 6 from the line. Those rebounds, by the way, 9 of them are defensive boards. Think about that for a second. He's not an elite defensive rebounder. He was out hustling guys like Zubac, who, by the way, is a very good center, in my opinion. This was an awesome game from Zion Williamson. You might look at the points and be like, oh, that's not impressive. 22, 10, and 12 for Zion in this game when he struggled in the first half is unbelievably impressive, in my opinion. In the first half alone, Zion had 6, 3, and 3. 6, 3, and 3. He finished with 22, 10, and 12. That's a heck of a second half, kind of figuring out the game, making adjustments, getting into a rhythm, getting into a flow, and just going out and playing unbelievable basketball. This might be one of the best games of Zion Williamson's career, and we've seen 40-point games and other things like that, but this is a game where I watch him and I go, oh, wow. The dude is special. And there are 2 plays that I want to highlight here. The first was the end of the third quarter. The Pelicans inbound the ball. He goes end-to-end with a layup. It goes end-to-end taking the ball as time's expiring and dunks with his right hand. In the fourth quarter with about 10 minutes left, he just cuts through the defense, dunks with his right hand. Zion's a lefty. He doesn't have much of a right hand. Years past, we've never really seen him do much with his right hand. And while dunks are one thing compared to layups or other crafty moves, him going right multiple times and scoring with his right hand, to me goes, oh yeah, this guy's kind of playing at another level right now because you've really never seen this. After the game, Zion said, quote, "This is the best I've felt offensively and defensively," end quote. And when you're seeing him score with his right hand, dicing through a defense like that and scoring in that way, yeah, I believe it. I posed this to my friends Tyler and Jeremy, who were at the game with me in this one here, and I've posed this to you on the show. The everydayers have heard me say it. We can talk about all the offensive stuff we want here. Is Zion Williamson the best healthy defender on the Pelicans right now? I think he is. Maybe by default, you could say it's Bruce Brown Jr., but honestly, it's probably Zion Williamson is the best defender on the team right now. So when he says this is the best I've felt offensively and defensively, yeah, I see it. I completely see it. And that's going to impact what the Pelicans do this offseason. We're going to talk about that in the next segment because now I got to figure out another Thursday show. I got another one for you. Don't worry. We got no shortage of ideas here on Locked On Pelicans about what this team or what we need to talk about when it comes to this team. But for him to do this against the defense, and by the way, the Clippers had the third best defense in the league going into this game. That's how they've won the majority of their games. It's been defensively. And New Orleans lit them up. New Orleans won the points in the paint battle. They won the fast break points battle as well. They just did everything, sorry, I keep coughing here, that you want this team to do. They won the second chance points battle. Those are the ways you're going to find out if New Orleans wins. Their offense in this game, in terms of points per possession, was in the 91st percentile. They had an offensive rating of 131. Real good here. Just really good. This was some of the best that we have seen them play. And I loved it. And it was spearheaded by Zion Williamson in the second half. The first half was the Clippers were ice cold from three. From just shooting in general. They were garbage. They got a little bit hotter in the third, even took a lead. And then Zion took over this game in the way that you want your star players to take over. This is why I'm not upset about the loss. When you can light up one of the best defenses in the league, Zion had a fourth quarter line of 10 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. That's nuts on 80% shooting. It's a masterful performance that when you look at what he did in this game, you go, oh yeah, he is a very special player. Clippers are good. They're not a title-winning team, in my opinion. And I was real down on him to start the year, and I've had to eat a lot of crow about that. Talking to you, DC. And Zion lit him up. Their defense has been exceptional this year. He was battling over guys like Zubac and others for rebounds. This is the best version of Zion we've seen. And then he had a comment, and I'm going to repeat this in the next segment here after the game, and this comes from Pelicans Film Room. Zion Williamson says, quote, "We talked about it as a team." When this is like kind of talking about what they can do for the final month of the regular season. Quote, "We talked about it as a team. The season hasn't gone the way we wanted it to, but that doesn't mean we can't build into something next year, build into better habits. When the summer comes, we stick together, and by the time the season starts, we're locked in." Be still my heart. This is what the Zion that you're seeing and the Zion that's talking is what you have waited for his whole career. Would we have liked this in year 2, year 3, year 1? Yes. But better late than never. And this probably changes what New Orleans needs to do this offseason. Coming up next, I'm going to tell you why I have to redo the plan that I had for Thursday's show. I had a headline. I had something that was going to make you comment. It was going to do numbers. I promise you that. I can't do it now. And I'll tell you why. That's coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Let's have a little bit of fun. Today's episode of Locked On Pelicans is brought to you by Wayfair. Your home should reflect your style, and with Wayfair, it's easier than ever to make that happen. So whether you're looking for a simple refresh or tackling a big home project, Wayfair has everything you need in one place. Wayfair's huge selection makes it easy to find the perfect piece, no matter your space or budget. Whether it's cozy furniture, stylish decor, or kitchen essentials, or outdoor must-haves, Wayfair has it all at prices that fit your budget. My whole place is basically furnished because of Wayfair. My couch, Wayfair. Coffee table, Wayfair. Bed, Wayfair. The art on the walls, which you might not even be thinking about, Wayfair. So whether you're looking for a bed, a coffee table, a rug to tie the room together, Wayfair has so many stylish options at great prices. And the site makes it easy to compare styles, and your order is going to arrive fast and with free delivery. So head over to wayfair.com and find something that's just your style today. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Today's episode of Locked On Pelicans is sponsored by Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back, and then waiting, wondering, and worrying some more. Now Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can just focus on your day. An expert who will find you every deduction possible and file every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy. Also, you can get the most money back guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now, this is taxes. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live full service, real-time updates only in iOS mobile apps. See guarantee details at turbotax.com/guarantees. And thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We're here Monday through Friday, the #1 Pelicans podcast, covering everything you want to know about this Pelicans team. So please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and join over 11,000. I'm going to cough. One day I will lose this cough, I promise. And join over 11,000 Pelicans fans on YouTube and become an everydayer. That means you listen Monday through Friday to the Locked On Pelicans podcast. And by the way, don't forget about the Locked On Pelicans daily newsletter in your inbox Monday through Friday. One-stop shop for ultimate team and league coverage. So we're going to go a little bit behind the scenes. Let's talk about how the sausage is made here at Locked On Pelicans. That was just weird to say out loud, and I'm sorry. So usually the way I do this is I kind of plan out the week on like Sunday, Saturday, just kind of knowing what is upcoming here. The show's Monday through Friday, unless I'm like super sick or it's Mardi Gras or something like that, right? So usually the day after games, we do kind of a recap. What's the biggest story from that game? What's the biggest takeaway? If it's a weekend, there might be multiple games. We'll talk about both of that. We did that on Monday. So I look at this and I go, okay, Monday's a recap day. Tuesday, we need to talk about another topic. What's important? What do we need to discuss? We talked about Dylan Harper in yesterday's show and some of the other draft stuff. It's relevant to the team. Makes a ton of sense, right? Wednesday, well, they play Tuesday night, so we're going to recap the game on Wednesday. We just did that in the last segment, talking about Zion's triple-double. What's the big story? What's the big takeaway from the game? That's what it is. We will discuss that. We're going to lead with that. And then in the third segment of this show, I want to get into the big man rotation because I thought Carlo Makovich played really well in this game. And I'm curious, what some of the numbers are from Mo Bamba and things like that. So we'll discuss it a little bit more. Thursday, no game to recap. What are we going to talk about? And I had a show, y'all. Had, past tense. We're going to do this. And I think we still might do this show. And maybe we'll do it on Thursday, but I'm not sure after this game. One of the things the everydayers or longtime listeners have heard me say is kind of talking about value when it comes to players and when do you trade guys. And we saw that this season with Brandon Ingram. Pelicans held on to him for too long. They should have traded him at least a year ago, if not before that, because he had real value around the league. And last year, there were teams that were very interested in Brandon Ingram, but the Pelicans wanted to make the playoffs, wanted to make that run, and decided not to move him, held on to him too long. The market didn't develop like they thought it was going to in the offseason. And while I think they got a good enough return for Brandon Ingram, maybe the best return they could have gotten for Brandon Ingram at the trade deadline, it wasn't what you would have gotten a year ago. And is that maybe mismanagement of assets in a sense? You could argue yes. Now, I'd also argue, and this is going to come into play with Zion Williamson here in a second as we tie it all in, you can't just like sign a guy to an extension and just immediately trade him. I have long said the best time to trade a guy is basically the earliest you can, which is usually that first year or second year really of an extension. Zion Williamson is on his extension right now. He's in year 2 of it. So he's got 3 more years, I believe. I might be incorrect on this. Let me just pull it up to be sure. After this year of team control at a contract that, if he's playing like this, is going to be very, very valuable. Next year, he makes $39.5 million, then $42.1 million, then $44.8 in 2027, 2028. You could argue that now, this offseason, is the best time to trade Zion Williamson, especially if he's going to play like this. This is the best we've ever seen him play offensively and defensively. He just said it. He's saying all of the right things here. So should you trade him? Should you try and kind of cash in on that max value that you're going to get from him, knowing that you're going to get a top 4, hopefully, draft pick? And that's who you just build around in the future. And that was going to be the show. The show was going to be, kind of playing devil's advocate with it, not saying whether I believe it or not of like the Pelicans need to trade Zion Williamson now this offseason, like a sensational headline that does well with SEO and all of those things, right? Like I'm getting into the weeds here that you don't need to know about, but people would have commented, you take a stance on it and people come in hot in the comments. Everything's good. That show does numbers, makes the rounds, all those things, and cool. But then he goes and plays like this. Right, he goes and plays like this, and if I do that show of the Pelicans should trade Zion Williamson because he's got the most value now, I'm being disingenuous to you, the audience, because frankly, 1, they're not going to, I don't think. And 2, at this point, if he's playing like this, can you actually trade him? Right, this game, this win, was, I don't want to call it a transcendent performance, but it's kind of up there for me. Seeing him play, it's not like he eviscerated the defense. Right? We could use big, bold words like that. It's not like he did that, right? This is someone who just played really smart basketball, messed around and got a triple-double, and looks like he's in the best shape of his career. He's playing defense. He's doing all of the correct things, saying all the correct things. He said all the correct things before. But now you're seeing the actions kind of back it up. And in a game like this, you see how transcendent and special of a player that he is. And when you have someone like that on your team, even if he has driven you nuts, insane previously, do you just give up on a guy like that? And truthfully, to me, the answer is no. No, you don't. So I could come in and be like, they should trade him. And look, there's an argument to be made that they should. His value's at an all-time high. Should you cash in knowing that, you're basically shorting Zion Williamson stock? Given his history, maybe that's the smart move, right? This is what the Dallas Mavericks. This is what Nico Harrison, who runs the Dallas Mavericks, right, is doing. He shorted Luka Doncic stock. And that looks dumb because Luka has a far better track record than Zion Williamson of staying healthy. Luka has made All NBA, is an MVP candidate. That is not something that Zion Williamson has done. So if you were going to short any of them, you would short Zion, it feels like. But then he has games like this. And in a small market where you don't get players like this, is that a dumb thing to do? And the answer is probably yeah. And now that we're seeing the way Zion is playing, it goes back to this point that the everydayers, the longtime listeners know that I've made for a long time, which is, you probably need to go down with the Zion ship. You build around him for next year. You try and do this again. And if it doesn't work out, you get fired. But it's better than just trading Zion Williamson away and watching him blossom into what he could do if and when he does that sort of thing. So maybe we'll still do that show. There's an argument to be made for it. Let me know in the comments down below if you want to hear me play devil's advocate with that. I'd be actually very curious with that. And we're here to serve you, the audience. But a game like this and the way Zion's been playing, I'm kind of back on the train of like, yeah, you got to keep building around him. And maybe it fails. Maybe it crashes and burns. There's every reason, if you think that, you are completely valid in those thoughts. But then you have these games. Torching. Eviscerating. Just playing very well against a really good Clippers team. That was on a 3-game winning streak coming into this one, by the way. I don't know if I can give up on that guy. Maybe it just means we're on this merry-go-round forever and we can never get off and it's miserable and we're all throwing up because we've just been spinning for so long. But to me, that still can be better than some of the wasteland of the teams like Charlotte, Washington that you see that just look like they ain't getting out of their spirals, their merry-go-rounds anytime soon. And at least it feels like something good can come of all of this. So I got to redo my Thursday show. I have a show. I have a couple ones in my back pocket that I can still do that are like explosive, exciting, those sorts of things. Maybe we'll see if we do that on Thursday, or maybe we just do the Trade Zion show here. But this game, I don't know. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below. The way he's playing, the comments that he said after. The defense from him, too, I think is a really big part of it. And change your opinion on Zion Williamson. Let me know what you think. So coming up next, let's look at some of the other big men here. Mo Bamba played. Carlo Makovich. Who needs Cooper Flagg when you got Carlo playing like that? That's coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Today's episode of Locked On Pelicans brought to you by Skims. When I found out Skims was making underwear for men, I'm actually wearing a pair right now, I was intrigued. I've heard so much about their quality from friends and family, so I had to give it a try. And let me tell you, it lives up to the hype. Look, I've always had issues with underwear, whether it's fit, comfort, even just the right style. Look, things riding up. Let's be realistic here. Skims has changed all of that. Their men's line offers something for everyone, from boxer briefs to classic briefs, all designed with the perfect balance of comfort and style. I have a day job. This isn't my full-time job. I went and did that in the morning, went straight to the arena. I've been in my same clothes all day long, moving around. When I'm at the arena, I'm running around, going from thing to thing. I end up getting walk a couple of miles when I'm at the arena. I'm in an office, kind of in dress clothes, all of that throughout the day. Their 5-inch stretch boxer brief, it's basically like day to night, right? You can be in there during the day. You can go do more athletic activities, and it just feels good. They're perfect for an active lifestyle. They move with me, never lose their shape, and they stay in place all day long. So whether you're working out or just running errands, they're the most comfortable and reliable underwear that I've ever owned. And I love the lightweight material that feels amazing, almost like you're wearing nothing at all. So shop Skims Men's at skims.com/lockedonnba and Skims stores. Let them know we sent you after you place your order, select podcast in the survey, and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. That's over at skims.com/lockedonnba. And thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We're here Monday through Friday, the #1 Pelicans podcast, covering everything you want to know about this Pelicans team. So please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and join over 11,000 Pelicans fans on YouTube as well. And now for your second listen, go check out Locked On Saints. Chase Young extension, other moves being made, sign of players from the Chiefs. I like that. Ross Jackson, host of Locked On Saints, is going to make sense of everything black and gold, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. So let's keep talking about this win over the Clippers. It's interesting that every time I think the games aren't going to matter, and that, you look at one of these, before the game, I'm just like, what's the storyline going to be? What am I going to talk about on the show when there's no hopes of the playoffs or anything like that? By the way, it just came up in my thing. Zion Williamson is 24 years old. That kind of game, y'all. It was real good. So in this game, you saw a bunch of other people contribute too. We haven't spent any time talking about Trey Murphy, who scored 21 points, going 3 of 7 from deep, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. That's a great performance. He fits wonderfully alongside Zion Williamson. CJ was great in this game. 23 points on 8 of 16 shooting, 5 of 9 from 3, 7 assists. With Zion playing the way that he did, creating open shots, guys just need to knock them down. CJ did, Trey did, Jose Alvarado off the bench did, going 4 of 5 from 3 with 4 assists. You even had Jordan Hawkins have a good game, 3 of 5 from 3, 11 points in pretty limited minutes in this one, contributing in a variety of ways. The Pelicans as a whole shot 17 of 31. You'd like that number to be up a little bit higher, especially with Zion taking so few shots. But 55% from 3, it's going to get it done. They won the 3-point battle. They should have won this game because they won every statistical category that you look at that matters. And basically it was Zion doing a lot of the work with that, creating a lot of that, creating those open looks, because they were shading Zubac on him every time. They put someone else on him. Whenever he drives, Zubac moves over. They were hiding Zubac on other players. Zion just needed to find the open man, and the ball just kept moving till you find the other open man, and then you have an open 3-point look. Zion with a career-high 12 assists in this game because of it. But you also got quality minutes from others in this game. Carlo Makovich, I thought, was good. 6 of 7 from the field. 1 of 1. He made his 3-pointer that he took. 3 defensive boards, 4 rebounds overall. He also had 2 blocks in this game. He was a plus 10. Off the bench, he and Jordan Hawkins had the highest plus-minus because they were paired well with Zion Williamson, and they were just doing the things they needed to do. Carlo in the pick and roll. Carlo cutting baseline. Hawkins making his threes. These are role players stepping up. They tend to play better at home. And it gives you an idea of what this team can look like next year when they're fully healthy. DeJounte Murray is going to fit into this too somewhere. So will Herb Jones, personal favorite here. But if you're getting Carlo playing like this in good big man minutes, watch out, y'all. We're going to need I cannot stop coughing. This is so annoying. Mo Bamba just signed, played 15 minutes in this game. Didn't score, doesn't need to. 6 defensive boards, 7 total rebounds, and a block. Winning that rebounding battle, limiting the Los Angeles Clippers in terms of their second chance points, something that New Orleans has struggled with this season, is a really important thing. You know, I'd said this game was really more about kind of proof of concept with Mo Bamba and trying to figure it out if that might work, and maybe it will. This is one game that we're not going to draw any conclusions from this. They had a better defensive rebounding percentage than they do during the regular season. 71.8 in the regular season. In this game, it was 73.5. It's not significantly better, but it's better. There's something to be said for that. Mo Bamba grabbed 30% of all available defensive boards. That's a really good number. Now, I don't know if they're always going to look this good. Zion Williamson had a 24.3% defensive rebounding rate, which isn't anywhere close to what his number on the season is. I can pull it up for you. Zion Williamson is usually, in terms of defensive rebounding rate, 17.6. So he's about, 7% higher than normal. I don't think you're going to expect to see that from him all the time. But if you can get Mo Bamba playing significant minutes and doing that kind of impact, well, there might be something that, we can do that you can build off of here. So it was worth it to see. It's also worth noting they played Zion at the 5 a bunch, and it worked. And he was rebounding really well because of that. Again, don't know if that's always going to be the case, but let's just take it in this win and enjoy the moment, even if it is against the tanking and what you want to see. But if you get this kind of performance from Zion Williamson, this, in my opinion, is pretty good and worthwhile. This type of game makes me very, very excited overall, and I hope we see more of this, even if it means it derails the tank, because, look, it's all about next season. And if you get Zion playing like this, sign me up. Let me know what you thought about Zion Williamson's game in this one down in the comments below. That's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Pelicans. I was trying not to cough, and I just did. As always, I'm your host, Jake Madison, at NOLA Jake on Twitter. This is the Locked On Pelicans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And I'll be back with you all tomorrow with what we're going to talk about. I'm not sure yet, because as I just told you, had to scrap the show. See you all next time.